we bring together for you the best photographers in the world.
I would say my style of photography is very cinematic. It's nearly like taking stills from, I'd like to think, stills from a movie. I use a lot of lighting. Some of it's very theatrical, it's very set up, and it's very considered. I'm certainly not a reportage photographer, that's for sure. So very often when I have an idea, I have to sit with the idea. I have to sit on the idea for a while, maybe 1 or 2 months until I start the production. I plan the shoot in a very detailed way, a little bit like an advertising photographer. I create mood boards. Everything is very, very considered when I come to shooting. For example, I would have recce'd the location already 3 or 4 times. I would have chosen my angle, what I want to shoot, what story I'm trying to tell, which person is going to be in the shot, so that when I do come into the setup, so to speak, we know exactly what everybody is doing and how I'm going to create the shoot. I tend not to use much post-production. I think people think I do or have, because it sometimes may look like that, but a lot of it is through my lighting. Because I use so much lighting, I can enhance colors or accentuate things with my lighting. One of my earlier pieces of work is Mothers and Daughters. Again, a subject matter that was very close to me. The project was about the relationship that I have with my mother, my sisters have with my mother, and the relationship my mother had with her mother. This was, in a way, quite an interesting project, because I cast real mothers and daughters and photographed them in their real homes. So I wanted to make it look as real as possible, but at the same time for them to act my life. Before digital, I would shoot on a 5/4 plate camera, which means 1 sheet of film at a time. And it really slows you down. It really makes you look at your subject matter nearly like a still life object. And I think that's why my images tend to look possibly very set up. And the colors are always very considered in each situation. I'm not a black and white photographer. It is all about color. I always create the pictures and create the setting. For example, when my mother and I were reflecting back on the past, I have this scene in a dining room table. I bring in my own photo album into this scenario. I bring in props that suit my background life. And I ask the mother to cry for me, which she then does. But everything is totally set up. Recently, I released a project on feral children. I very much live and breathe and start dreaming about the project. I started having nightmares about what it really must be like to be in their situation and how they could have survived, and how some of them who are still living now, how they're coping with life these days. Children who became feral for different reasons. They were either neglected in life from their parents, or, for example, I read a book on Marina Chapman, and she was kidnapped, drugged, and taken into the forest or into the jungle, woke up and survived there for the next 4 or 5 years. She survived by copying the behavior of capuchin monkeys, and I found that absolutely fascinating, and I thought I'd make that into a photographic project. It was very hard to find the children that had the right look, They were from the right country, that had to look slightly malnourished, so had to be very skinny, and had to have great acting abilities. And that took me a long time to find these children. Start to finish, I would say the project took about a year and a half. But don't forget, in between, I'm also shooting commissions. So it's not like it's a start-stop process, because it's always on my mind. And even if I'm doing a shoot during the day, I would come back to the evenings and work on the idea. As it's not a commission project, I have to finance everything myself, which can be incredibly costly. I use a lot of lighting, which means 2 huge vans full of equipment, getting all the equipment into the location or into the forest, many assistants, at least 7 or 8 assistants, hair and makeup artists, specialist artists for the body work and for their skin, the stylist, and a couple of runners. So we're quite a lot of people. My father-in-law was slowly becoming blind. Unfortunately, he's passed away a year ago. And I suddenly had this nightmare. What would it be like as a photographer to become blind? That's my passion, is photography. It's what I do. It's my life. If I can't see, what will I do? So I thought this would make an amazing project. I had a casting director who contacted blind people and asked them to come forward for the photographic shoot. And I thought, well, maybe they won't be very interested because they won't see the images. So what are they going to get out of it? So I let the people choose their own backgrounds. Again, something I've never done before. I let them take more control than I normally do. And then also the experience of being photographed. All the other senses are heightened when you can't see. One blind person said to me, "What do you do when you kiss?" You close your eyes. What makes a great photograph is when you look at the image and you have a feeling about it. It's something that is very moving and also different. I think the main thing is to believe in your own work and try and shoot something different that other people haven't seen before.
Be inspired. Be better. Be great.